we're in your studio. I'm geeking out. I already see the clown puppet from Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, that was an episode I directed called
Great episode. So I'm gonna leave it to you. I mean, show us some cool stuff, man.
I'll start again with as I'm gonna pick up if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
I gotta look over and see. So this again is the Bill and Ted muscle suits when I talked about, and then here these are each like we do a mock-up application on a cast of Keanu, and then I would pre-paint it. So this kind of gets us down and shows us that was Keanu and this is Alex.
Wow.
This shows us like where we're going to put spots and liver spots and all kinds of stuff, and kind of gives us an idea. So these are paint scheme tests. And then on here, I think you can see that or not.
Yeah.
There's just some stuff that we did. It was an early demon design. Ended up being cut out of the film. This is that one that pathetic bald cap look design. This was his muscle suit look, deciding to do his handlebar mustache. Right. Here was Keanu's prison look, here.
Right.
Then some early robot. Let's see if I can get my camera on.
That's also, and the robot is like the most entertaining character in the movie, I think.
Yeah, he was so great. I was so happy that he came out the way he did. So pathetic and insecure. These were some early designs that I did before I left the show. Then here over here, just some. This is like a sample of all the appliances that we did.
Wow.
So you can just see, there's things like, here. Let's see. This right here. Can you see my hand? Yeah. That's the back of the head, and then the foreheads and hands over there, and then the wraparound cheek pieces in the background.
Wow.
Okay, now I'll show you the rest of the shop.
Oh, cool.
Spin around here. You recognize this character.
Man. Yes, I know that guy.
This was the original stunt Chucky from Child's Play 1, actually.
Now, how many Chuckies would be like in a movie? Like, how many did you have? Assortment of different dolls?
Oh yeah, we had insert legs, insert hands. We had, of course, lots of these dolls.
Yeah.
That was the carry-on good guy doll. We had six or eight of those. Just a side note, that's Christian Slater's head from Wind Talkers under glass. So we had tons of different parts, that between, we had a servo Chucky, we had a kicking, screaming Chucky.
Right.
There was like probably 9 or 10 different parts and pieces for him.
Wow.
So, and I did, all the way through Bride of Chucky's. I did 4 of the films.
Right.
This is from Face Off.
That's awesome. Oh, man.
This is Nick Cage here, sans face.
Now, you've worked with Nick Cage a handful of times.
Yeah, I did also did a
adaptation, right?
Adaptation, yeah. And then Wind Talkers, we also
what's working with Nick like?
He's great. He's like, yeah, Kev, so good. What you're doing, man? I think you're gonna get an Academy Award. Stuff like that. But he's great. Both these guys were really super. This was John's.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome.
And and all the hair again is very much like the Bill and Ted appliances. We punch all that in it, literally one hair at a time.
That's crazy. That must be so time consuming.
It is. I mean, I think, and we have full bodies. These guys only come up to about here, the waist.
Yeah.
But we had full body ones. And these were the inserts where the actual faces come off. So this is in the sequence. Of course, you recognize this guy.
I think so. Yeah. Which one is that?
This was actually from 2. This is my favorite one. I think it's a fan favorite as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess it's just I was early on and I made him smoother, and I kind of started getting too much detail later on, and I had to change part. I think in part part 3, Chuck Russell wanted to make him look more like Robert, like he was changing back so that we ended up doing a different design. And then in part 4, I went back to more closer to this one.
Okay.
It was kind of like this one with more detail. But this I did just as a display because it was in silicone, and back in the day we did it out of foam latex. So I wanted to give it more of a translucent look. It has a more realistic look.
And you also worked on Freddy's Nightmares as well, right?
Yes, I did the Freddy's Nightmares. Yeah, the first.
So I mean, how many times do you think Robert has strapped on that makeup?
Oh, God, just on part 2, I did it 35 plus times.
Oh my God.
And we were like. We went to New York and did all this promotion stuff. It was crazy. And so that was just on the first one I did. And I did 3 films with him, and then the series. So overall,
incredible.
It has to be 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't Has to be
Really?
something like that overall. Everything's done. Okay, so here we got.
There's the Crypt
Let me
Keeper.
know if the reflection is.
No, that looks good.
This
Yeah.
is all under glass. So, but that's the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, is that the mummy from Lower
That is,
Birth?
yeah.
Yeah.
Also known as his mommy.
That's right. Mummy.
It was the Crypt Keeper's mother, and it was an episode that my brother Jeff I actually cast in as the Two-Faced man.
And that makeup was absolutely outstanding.
Well, it was great because there was a guy from China, and it was on oh god, it was on a TV show. I saw him, and he had a little face that he was born with that actually had a secondary mouth and had a primitive brain and a lump of hair and an ear. And I don't think it had an eye, but it would, as he moved his mouth, it would move.
Oh, wow.
Secondary mouth. And I took that idea and developed Enoch, into the Two-Faced Man, but I gave him a little bit of an eyeball. So as my brother Jeff would move his mouth, the puppeteers would then, mimic what Jeff was doing with his mouth and stuff.
So you get to torture your brother by putting him in the makeup chair for about 4 hours.
Totally. Yeah, totally. For all those times that he was jumping on me and beating me when we were kids. And then down below you saw that there's a Coco clown.
And the Donald O'Connor
yeah. Who played
now that must have been pretty cool getting him involved with that episode.
Oh yeah. I mean I went to Dick Van Dyke first and he turned it down. And then I went to oh my god, this guy. I forgot his name.
I can't tell who that is.
It'll come to me in a second. I have a blank every time. I'm on this keto friendly diet, so
that's okay.
It makes me a little spacey.
Strange times for all of us.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went to him first, and then finally, and he turned it down, and then I got Donald O'Connor, so it was great. I mean, any of these guys are fantastic. I mean, Singing in the Rain, and he was the guy that jumped off the wall and did the flip. Yeah. These little guys, if you can see, were from Astronaut's Wife. I'll try to get an angle. This was, there we go. That's Charlize Theron and Johnny Depp have these little babies, and they start out as little tiny embryos, and then they get bigger and turn into little bigger embryos. But they're quite large. Wow. We had to make them big to animate them, because they're normally they'd be like really tiny in a belly. Yeah. And they're seen in the movie so quickly it comes and goes.
That's awesome.
And this is Sleepy Hollow.
The tree.
Angle. Yeah.
Right.
An angle that you can see.
That's cool.
There's a spider in there, a real spider. See, see?
Oh.
They just become part of the. I don't know if you can see that. They become part of the display.
Now you were at one point going to direct Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
Years before it got made. What was it like, sort of working on it, knowing you had almost directed it? I mean, was that a contentious issue or?
No, I mean, that was the whole idea. I wrote it with Andy Walker, who did Seven. The movie Seven, wrote that, and he was at my same agency. We met, got along. I pitched him my idea. We developed it. We went around town. Finally, it ended up with Scott Rudin over at Paramount, and that's where we wrote the script, and then it stalled out. The Crucible, somebody had made the Crucible at the time, and it was. I guess it didn't do very well in the box office, so they thought that things of that time period weren't working. So they shelved
They're kind of different movies, but
so they shelved it for 5 years, and then Tim Burton found out about it and he called up and said, "I want to do it," and I was like, "Well, I'm directing." It's one of those things. But with Kevin Yagher directing, not to talk about myself in third person, I think this is insanity. But with me directing, I'm insane. I'd get $2 million, that would be it. And with Tim Burton, we got 60, and it's Tim Burton. So I can, it's like, that's right up his alley. So I had him come over to the shop and I showed him stuff like the face-off bodies, because I was locked in my contract, had a great contract, and I was locked in to do all the effects. So he couldn't really get rid of me. I didn't want him to feel that he was obligated to use me. I wanted him to feel comfortable that, listen, I can do it. Do the job for you. He's used to working with Stan Winston and Rick Baker, and so here he has to. Who's this guy? I'd met him once before, but he was like, I don't know. I just want to make him feel comfortable. So I showed him the stuff, and he's like, fine, great, as long as I can direct it. He was happy to say yes to anything I said. So I stepped back, and they paid me off. I got paid off as a director. I got paid as I got to be a co-producer on it, and still got to do all the effects, and then finish doing some writing on it and stuff like that. And I still collect royalties from that movie. So, and it's a Halloween it's a Halloween favorite now, which is a great.
It's a really fun movie. I mean, it really is. It's very cool. I love the atmosphere of it. The set design, of course, is amazing, and the makeup effects are fantastic. And I was curious. I was thinking about this. Like in the '90s, it seemed like a lot of people were worried that CGI was just going to take over everything, and it seemed like it was going that way for a while. And then now, there's a whole new generation of movie fans who love practical effects, not just the old school people, but the new school people. And I'm just curious about your take on the fact that, practical effects are still so beloved and still in high demand.
You see CGI, it took over so many things. I mean, stop motion animation with Jurassic Park, I was actually, funny, not to drop names, but I was in a meeting with Steven Spielberg. We were in his office, and I was talking about doing directing Small Soldiers, actually. So I had a meeting about that. And he had just gotten back from ILM and just saw the first test for Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs. He said, Kevin, wait till you see this. It's going to blow you away. It's a real dinosaur. It's a real dinosaur. I mean, I love Phil Tippett's work. He was talking, Phil ended up being the dinosaur, whatever, tech support or whatever. And he said, but it's stop motion and it looks like stop motion, even with his techniques that he was using. Just this stuff is going to blow you away. So, that it came about, and it all kind of, it scared all of us at first, when it came into play. But then it was great for a while because people were still using it and kind of enhancing, using practical stuff, and then having, if you remember, even in Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, Rick Baker did all these makeups, and they would take, one of the lead gorilla, actors, and he could only open his mouth so far, but then they would go back in and CGI and really open it up like a real gorilla could do. So it was enhancement, and that was brought us a lot more ideas. So writers were writing anything they wanted to because they knew CGI could handle it if we couldn't handle it. So it was a great period in there, and then it kind of just dropped away. Now they're still making, I'm not doing them anymore, but they're still making, the Child's Play films. And so things like that are commercials. Always going to use practical effects. Anything low budget or commercials, because we can still do it cheaper. And it's really kind of cool for the actors. I mean, why didn't they do these old age makeups digital?
Right.
They had the capability. Well, we didn't have the money, number one. And the actor, I know it helped. I know it helped both these guys to be able to look in the mirror and play act. Instead of going to the set with green dots all over your face, right?
Yeah.
Like so many actors do nowadays. They could actually look in the mirror, and that's the challenge, is to make our stuff even better. If we get bad at what we do, then they're never going to do it. It's going to be a lost art. So we have to compete with CGI. So it brings our competition level up. There's another good thing, like, the suits that we put on to save time, we left the seam, right across the neck. So they just zip up the back, and the zipper line. We zipped up the back because we knew that we had to get these guys out of these suits in record time if they begin to pass out in this heat. And, just to save hours of blending, we could have blended these things into the skin. We did do all the bald cap work. That's all makeup and blending. But this seam right across here, we thought, what are we killing ourselves? Keanu's has a huge beard, so his would tuck up underneath the beard. You barely saw it. But Alex's was a little lower. And we just, that was a planned effect where practical effects meet CGI.
Right.
And all they did was, move the little magic wands around.
That's cool.
I mean, they do more than that, but they blended in that one little scene there. But all the suits, the muscles and all the bending, that's what we did with the suit. So I still believe in it. I think it in some way, I talked to Alex Winter afterwards, and he was like, I totally was happy to have all that weight on me, even though it was kind of straining on my back, because it allowed me to feel like I was heavier, like I had muscle, even though I didn't have much strength into holding these 30-pound suits up. But it just helped him got him into character. And I think if you're just doing it normal, it would still look great. I'm sure CGI would be beautiful if you had $3 million to throw at just that one scene. They could have easily done it, but I like the fact that we can still do it. And again, we had to do. I'm getting good on social media. At Yagher Effects, if you're out there doing Instagram, I'm getting a lot of good feedback. People are going, hey, I thought these the old ages would look bad, or I thought the muscle suits would look flawless, or whatever compliment I was getting, which was fantastic. It's great. I love social media because you don't have to wait, to go to a horror convention to get compliments from your fans. They can talk to you. I've been loving this for years, but anyway, so. yeah, I mean, that's the challenge is to make sure that we make our stuff as best as we can to compete with what's out there. But
Yeah.
I think, again, the combination for me works best. I mean, a lot of people call CGI like bubble gum. They say it's like bubble gum. Everything's soft and squishy and moves and kind of doesn't have a realistic look. It's getting better and better, obviously. It's getting phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And eventually, I think it'll surpass us and we'll be retired dinosaurs. But
Not yet.
yeah, not yet. And again, some people prefer it. So it's not dead yet.
There's no substitute for a good gory corpse. I mean, I know how weird that sounds, but you could probably relate. I mean, all the work you did on Bones, you can't do that stuff with CGI, so.
I mean, we had, on Bones, we did this for 12 years, this series. Did all the victims, we did animals, we did things, and we had 3 days. I mean, I think the longest I got 2 weeks one time to make a really elaborate fake head that I had to do that had to kind of, the top had to come off, and then Calvarian cut, which is that cut that they make when they remove the brain in an autopsy. They had, that had to come off, and there was a brain inside. And so it was a pretty elaborate head. It gave me 2 weeks to do that. And thank God I had brain molds already in the back, and I had certain things that helped. But we had to punch all the hair. Same thing. We just had to do it in lightning speed. I mean, you couldn't do that with CGI every week. It would delay the process. You wouldn't get the TV shows out in time.
Finally, I'll let you go in a sec, but the question I have to ask, and I'm sure it's a tough one. What do you think the pinnacle of your career in terms of what effect or makeup design are you most proud of? I know it's probably like picking your favorite kid or something like that.
Well, it is hard. I mean, the things that come to mind, Face Off, certainly I liked it because the experience was fantastic. Everything ended up on screen. I mean, everything that we did, so many times things get cut. Bill and Ted, believe it or not, I think it's going to be one that goes in the memory books too.
Yeah.
Creature-wise, I really enjoyed. I mean, Freddy's great. Chucky's fantastic. He's got to be that should be kind of my number one. But I had the most fun. That was almost like working at Mattel. There was so many people had input on what it should look like, and it had to be perfect. And there were so many stages.
Yeah.
Just even getting it okayed, it was tough. But the Crypt Keeper for Tales from the Crypt was so great because I was able to. Everybody involved, Joel Silver and most of the other executive producers were all directors. Bob Zemeckis, Hill, Dick Donner. So these guys trusted you like nobody. I mean, they just went, good. You show them something, they go, great. They wouldn't go, well, it's only just, they wouldn't pick it apart. Like you get picked apart by a lot of productions. And so I was able to sketch them out, go from a sketch to a sculpture, build him, mechanize him, go on set with him, direct him. I got to direct all the wraparounds, and then even the very first line that comes out of his mouth was mine. I had to do it on the fly right there because we wanted to change the line slightly, and so I'll do it. I did, you can tell it's not John Kassir, but I got to cast John Kassir too in my shop.
Wow.
Edition, so I got to do the whole thing, and then I went on to do 2 episodes. One got a Cable Ace nomination for directing, and so it was just it was at that time where you're soaring. The practical effects were still up there. CGI hadn't come in yet.
Right.
And I was just on top of the world. It just went all the way up. And then that was and then things changed. Things start to slow down. I started directing, and then I had some difficulty, with, Miramax, the Weinsteins.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to bring up Hellraiser.
I don't mind talking about it. It's Hellraiser 4, Bloodline. And it was just a tough, really tough. It was like one of the first. Dimension was a small company that they made for horror and horror franchises, and
it was kind of before Dimension really took off.
Yes, that was their first film. I think it was that one and another one they were doing at the same time, and it just was a tough, difficult time. Not directing wise, just dealing with certain people.
Yeah, sure.
It was just a bit of a nightmare. So, in the end, I ended up leaving the film because it was just, I finished it, but, I wasn't allowed to shoot any of Pinhead stuff. I wasn't allowed to. At one time, I was told to take away Pinhead's chains and hooks. And I said, that's like taking Freddy's glove away.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I convinced them to keep that back in. But, they weren't sure if it was going to be PG-13 or not.
Oh,
and
God.
So instead of letting me film it as an R-rated film, which it is, let me film it that way, and then you can cut out. They just said they wouldn't let me finish it. So my completed film had no scary scenes in it. That was an issue. So then, but then they sat back and judged it without these things. It was just it was a nutty nightmare. I felt that the people in charge, and there was only one person in charge, didn't understand filmmaking at all. Didn't understand how films were put together. Didn't know the difference between the producer and the director. The only thing this guy knew was that there was what the writer was, because that's obvious, but that's all he understood. He was really strangely not informed, had no background, in my opinion. So it was just a disaster. And then a huge ego, huge power, loved to be cruel to people, loved to hurt people, loved to, and so that was just a friggin' nightmare. And that kind of changed. And then CGI came in, but then I started doing more A pictures. That's when I did Face Off. I did Starship Troopers. I did adaptation. I started working with big stars, Conspiracy Theory, all these other movies that were fun to work on with big directors, Tony Scott, all these other guys. And so I kind of went back to do that. I still directed a little bit, still love directing, would love to still direct, but just kind of thought, I came out from Ohio to do this. This is what I did. And I was just thinking about this. One thing I'll say more before we stop is horror wise, I've been able to work, on Pinhead. I directed him. I got to do Jason on Friday the 13th Part 4, Freddy, Chucky, the Crypt Keeper, if you want to, and Tiffany for that matter, Chucky and Tiffany. So like
all icons as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. I mean, to look back. I mean, anytime anyone does a chart and shows who's your favorite, all my characters are up there, and that's something to be really proud of. And that's pretty much a miracle from a kid who came from Ohio who had no way of knowing how to get in the business and was able to do that. And I got helped. I got helped by Greg Canham, Rick Baker, Stan Winston. I worked for all those guys. And the biggest one was Dick Smith, who really got me started.
Wow. And you're amongst them in terms of how iconic all these images are. So it's been a thrill. And like I said, I think I told you before, I try not to geek out too much, but you're a name like that I've known for so long because I was a young, in the late 80s, I was just a young kid being warped by horror. And Tales from the Crypt was my favorite show. I loved Chucky. So you played a really big part in my my warping my brain. So thanks for that. And not just me, an entire generation of people.
As long as you didn't turn out to be a serial killer, I think it's okay.
I've got a great job. I'm able to talk to guys like you for a living now, so it's pretty cool. And one day I'm going to get to talk to you. I just want to do a deep dive into Tales from the Crypt one day because it's still I still go back to watch it. I don't think people appreciate how unique that show was in terms of the talent involved with it. It's just every episode had amazing people involved, and they're all doing this wonderfully sleazy, gross stuff, and it just seemed like a blast for everybody involved.
I mean, the first couple seasons I thought were really the best, and you got big guys like of course all the executive producers who are big directors.
Oh yeah.
But then it started attracting all these, Demi Moore did one. I mean, all these people started coming in and wanting to be a part because they could be goofy and scary and do things that they kind of wanted to do, but they couldn't do in their normal careers. And this is just a 30-minute little episode. They could be a vampire or something like that.
Yeah, and you had like Robert Zemeckis following up Forrest Gump with the Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
So that's so awesome. So we'll talk about that some other time, but thank you so much for your time, Kevin. It's so cool. I want to live in your studio, but don't worry, I'm not flying anywhere yet.
Not now with the water leak that just happened to you.
That's a whole other horror story. And Bill and Ted 3 is out right now, and everybody should check it out because it's such a good time. And Kevin, thank you so much for your generous time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Kevin Yagher, everybody, the man.